Welcome to the Maximize Business Value podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Mastery Partners, where our mission is to equip business owners to maximize business value so they can transition their business on their terms. Our mission was born from the lessons we've learned from over 100 business transactions, which fuels our desire to share our experiences and wisdom so you can succeed. Now here's your host, CEO of Mastery Partners, Tom Bronson.
Hi, this is Tom Bronson, and welcome to Maximize Business Value, a podcast for business owners who are passionate about building long-term sustainable value in their businesses. In this episode, I am so excited today. I'd like to welcome our guest, Michael Orr. He's the principal at Point Z Marketing, and he happens to be the marketing master here at Mastery Partners. Now, I've known Michael for probably 35 years. We first met when we were both young advertising professionals through the American Advertising Federation. Michael was in the Atlanta chapter, and I was in the Charlotte chapter. We met at conferences and have been very close friends ever since. In fact, Michael and his wife, Pam, were at our wedding nearly 30 years ago. So we know a lot about each other. We're gonna try and keep this on a professional level today. So did you hear that, Michael? Professional level.
That'll be difficult.
So welcome to Maximize Business Value, Michael. Tell us about yourself and about Point Z Marketing.
Sure. Hey, Tom. And yeah, wow, when you said 35, it was making me feel kind of old, but it's true. Well, back that far.
You know, if the shoe fits.
Yeah, well. Point Z Marketing, me, I guess my background a little bit is I cut my teeth in the ad agency business. And it was a lot of fun. It was a great environment. They still are great environments, a lot of fun. Of course, they've changed a lot, which we'll talk about. I went from there into the client side and worked for Kimberly-Clark for, I guess I was there 8.5 years. And then I left there, pushed myself out the door during the dot-com boom. And I went into a technology company, which folded pretty quickly after I got there. I like to think it wasn't my fault, but I was a part of it. And but it was good. It got me out. It got me into technology, got me into doing some other things. And from there, I went into my big consumer experience, which I was director of marketing for a motorcycle manufacturer, Aprilia and Moto Guzzi Italian bikes. And I was telling my daughter the other day, when I put on one of my old shirts, I'm like, I still miss that job. She goes, I know you do, Dad. I said, but it combined hobby with work, and you're just pinching myself every day when I would go to work. They were bought out by Piaggio. I had no designs of going into New York City where they were moving. And the new guy they sent over from Italy to manage the business didn't like being told that you also have to invest in marketing to get volume and margin. You can only pick two of the three, right?
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do something else. So I went out on my own at that point and worked with a friend on launching some products with Serta. And then made a few phone calls, and that was 15 years ago. So I've been out on my own since with my agency. And I'm a virtual agency, which means it's me. These are the Point Z towers.
You're talking to us from the Point Z corporate offices.
Exactly. And I bring in a lot of, top line professionals in their own disciplines when we need them. Some of them almost on a full-time basis. And so I have the advantage of bringing senior, people to the table and not, beginning with a senior person and then get footballed to the college graduate. No disrespect to them, but there's a difference in experience. So I do that. And I guess why I enjoy it, Point Z, the name I kind of came up with because usually people want to do something and they've only thought, point A to point B. A lot of times my favorite is we need to do branding. I need a logo. And I'm like, okay, well, let's talk a little bit more and maybe push it out to, at least talk about Point Z so that we can get to B now. And so that's the genesis of the name. And I think, I found myself in meetings at Kimberly-Clark and other places enough times where I was connecting dots where other people weren't. And it might be in strategic things, it might be in communications, or it might be in functional areas that I had no part of. But I really liked, sort of bridging the gap in those kinds of things. And so the combination for what I do now between strategic things and creative things is a good fit for me. And that's why I do what I do.
That's awesome. We're going to talk about your point of being able to kind of see things that other people don't in just a second. But so what kind of clients does Point Z work with? Big clients, small clients?
Yeah. My normal answer is anyone with money. But
or that can pay their bills, right?
Yeah, no. We fit in from being the be all end all, marketing resource for some customers to, big projects within massive companies that have big national agencies and all of the like. So we work with, companies like UPS, and Carlisle's a big chemical company, Cardinal Healthcare, those are bigger companies, and, mid-tier ones, as well as small startups. So kind of runs the gamut. Probably a bigger focus in B2B, which I actually tend to enjoy more. I think it's more difficult than B2C. Doesn't have as many zeros in the budget, but it's usually infinitely more complicated. So it tends to be more fun. But we have a consumer products company now as well, which is bullet liners for trucks and different things like that. So.
Oh, cool. So one of the things I love about you is your ability to see kind of all those points, right, that are around, sort of the ability to be able to demystify marketing, if you will. I kind of call you the marketing whisperer, right? Because you have a way to explain it that it makes sense. So what is marketing and why is it important? If you could go back to that moment with the guy that bought out the new CEO of Aprilia, what would you tell him about what marketing is and why it's important?
Well, I've never heard whisperer as a descriptive term for me, but
it just popped out.
I think that I always think about sort of demystifying marketing, because certainly in the agency days, and even now, I think the industry likes to make it more complicated than it is. And I mean, I guess there's reasons for that, I suppose. It's not totally simple, but it's not as complicated as people try to make it. And we also have all these marketing trends over time, where, I mean, if I think in the old days, we were talking about integrated marketing. What did that mean? Making sure that your same message was on all your marketing, all your ads. Wow. That's like earth shattering, right? And we should still be doing that. And there was account-based marketing, and that was, that meant talk to your customers before you figure out what your message is. Another great brainstorm. And then we came out with guerrilla marketing. Well, that's how to do it cheap. Okay, if you got the people and the time, you can do it cheap, and and those kind of things. And as time goes on, all those things are still valid, but it's the same thing with a new label. At the end of the day, marketing is trying to create an environment where you sell more stuff. That's it, and all the pieces and parts, that add to that. And to me, it's more of a process than it is, magic. But we have that creative element in there, right? Which is, how do I get my message out in a way that'll stop people? And that's something I think we've lost now. But we'll probably talk about that later.
Yeah, it seems to be more volume than anything else. So
Yeah.
your simple definition of marketing is to make people stop in their tracks and pay attention to the message so you can develop more sales.
Sell more stuff. If your marketing's not doing that, then it's not doing what it should be doing, right?
So a lot of business owners kind of think of sales and marketing as the same thing.
Yep.
What's your take on that?
So my brother and I have this argument all the time because he is a sales guy. I mean, he's one of the best sales guys I've ever seen. And, you know,
besides me, of course,
except for you, but yeah. And, you know, and a lot of, I argue because now a lot of like job titles are called, you know, marketers or marketing representative, but it's really sales, right? So they've kind of been conflated, and I think that's contributed to the perception. But marketing, and here's the other thing. I think you hit the nail on the head when you said sales and marketing. Shouldn't we be talking about marketing and sales? I mean, marketing should come before sales, right?
Yeah, you have to have the marketing before you get the sales, right?
I mean, you can have sales without marketing, but there's really no reason to do marketing if you're not trying to sell something. So not a lot. I hate to box myself in, but if you don't want to sell stuff, you shouldn't do marketing. So yeah, that's, you know, I think that's the difference is marketing. It creates that environment that should make sales more plentiful, easier, more active, something, move people further down the funnel. And sales is actually where you're more on the ground. You're making the pitch, you're closing the deals, you're bringing the money in, right?
Right.
Marketing is also accused of being just a cost center. I don't look at it as a cost center. It's really a piece of sales, to me, but it's a totally separate discipline. And if you do even an okay job, but you do it consistently with marketing, you're going to have an effect in sales.
It's funny that especially in big companies, you and I have both worked in big companies before, but when times go bad, a lot of times the first thing to get cut is the marketing budget, which is always shocking to me. Why would you cut off the spigot that's supposed to bring leads into the funnel so you can make more sales? Why would you cut that off? That just has never made any sense to me at all.
Well, the other piece is true too. When times are good, they spend more in marketing. And it's like what you should do is just pick a level and keep it. And you may adjust for new products or market conditions or whatever the case may be. But if you pick a flat level in your investment and your effort, right, then when the market goes down and you still go, right, you're there when the market comes right back up. When it comes back up, you're still there. You're still in people's minds. And when the market goes up again, you're still keeping in front of people and getting your share. But if you do this, like you say, when sales go down, you cut it, it's all backwards. So you're not getting the maximum value for your investment, right?
Well, that's it. I look at marketing really as an investment and you should be able to measure the return on that investment. I mean, it should be a simple matter of math, right? How many leads are we generating? How many of those leads are moving through the pipeline into a sale? You should be able to articulate what your return on marketing dollars is in good times and bad times. And so I've never considered marketing an expense. And you brought up an excellent point there. A lot of people do think of it as an expense, but if you kind of retool that thinking and think about marketing as an investment in the future growth of the business, it kind of reframes that whole question for you. Before I forget, I do have an answer why it's sales and marketing and not marketing and sales, because even though the marketing has to come before you get the sales, it's because S&M sounds so much better than M&S, right? I mean,
well, tell that to Bill Gates.
Right. True. So you and I both have degrees that we earned back when we chiseled our messages into stone tablets, right there beside Moses. How has marketing evolved over the last 40 years?
Yeah. Well, first of all, since I'm demystifying this, I don't have a degree in marketing.
Oh.
And
all right. Hey, thanks for being our guest today. No.
Yeah, we'll wrap this up. Let's speed it up, Michael. Yeah, no, I have a degree in psychology, which I believe is perfect for what I do.
Oh, yeah,
and
absolutely.
I created my own minor in advertising because it was an unrecognized minor. So I created my own. So all those people who hired me on that resume, now you know where I bent the truth just a little bit, which is just marketing. How has it evolved? And you brought up ROI, right? And that's a big focus, obviously, of what we do now with digital marketing. In the old days, the old adage was, 50% works, 50% doesn't. I just can't tell you which is which. And that was David Ogilvy, right?
Right, yes.
And we did billboards and ads and TV commercials. And when you did them, sales went up. But no one really knew what was moving the needle. They just knew something was working. Okay. Today, we've shifted into, measurable results. And the amount of accuracy that is available to targeting your customers is mind-boggling. It's actually frightening. It's so good, right? Where in the old days, it's kind of like shooting a blunderbuss and 50% of the stuff might hit your target. Now we routinely, fire at targets with our snipers at over a mile away and hit it every time. Right.
Right.
The thing that I think I see is that, when you start talking about ROI, I don't see people really tying ROI going all the way, because it's an investment to actually set the goals up front, put in the measurement mechanisms. And I'm not talking about measuring interactions, clicks and visits and those kinds of things. I'm talking about, can you tie this sale to this marketing activity? And it's possible. I mean, the tools are there. I just don't see a lot of people, and the bigger guys or companies, sure, are going to take the time to do that. But it's good because they can measure some effect of what they're doing, where before it was like nothing, right? So
Yeah.
it's all good stuff. Don't think I'm not a fan of all the digital things. I'm a huge fan. What I think has been lost is the way we communicate with our highly targeted customers. Okay. You remember in the old days, I mean, advertising messages used to become part of our culture and our conversations and our, friends gathering. I mean, where's the beef, right?
Yep.
When's the last time we had a where's the beef in our discussion that's just kind of gone? So I think that's an opportunity right now. You've got the algorithms that do an amazing job of finding who will most likely purchase from you. If you take the time to do some where's the beef to where you actually get people talking about you and stopping and, and those kinds of things, if you combine those two things, I think you have a real competitive advantage. And I see very few people doing that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no doubt. Yeah, in fact, it's kind of a rush of memories. I'm trying to think. Karen and I over the weekend, we were talking about, we saw there was some commercial on football yesterday, and I can't remember what it was, but it was how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
Right.
1, 2, 3. And I was sitting on my computer doing something, and Karen started laughing, and I said, "Wait a minute. Was that really the old 1960s commercial?" And she said, "Yeah." I mean, our mind clicks on things like that. My bologna has a first name.
Yeah, exactly. There's a zillion of them,
Oh man. Yeah. Where is that today?
I'm soaking in it. Palm olive. I mean, there's so many of those kinds of things. And now it's just like you said, it's volume. We throw enough targeted stuff out there and we'll get some numbers back. Well, just imagine if you did that volume, because what we've done is we've created, everybody can target customers now. Okay. Even playing field. We can get at exactly who we need to get at. So now what? Those people have a lot of targeted noise. So how do you carve yourself out with your competitors, with your highly targeted, because you're not the only one targeting the same group of people. So that's what I'm saying. I think if we get back to combining some of the old kind of way we approach the connection with people in messaging with the tools we have today, I think is a pretty powerful mix.
I agree. And by the way, I'm disturbed and alarmed that your degree is in psychology, especially with everything that I know about you.
Well, but you do know this. Marketing was in the business school. Business school had a lot more math than psychology, which I avoided like a plague.
Oh, the math. Yeah, believe me, I get that. So
yeah, I know. So I leave the EBITDA to you.
You know, it's funny, in my marketing degree, I have a media advertising and a marketing and management minor, and I lacked 1 3-hour class to having a psychology minor because, I mean, marketing, defining the message and being able to speak to your intended audience is all about psychology. Yeah. I mean, that's I think it's a great lead in for what you do. And so, you know, but don't try to use your psychology on me, mister. So
I already have, folks.
Yeah. Trust me, it's true. So say that one of our listeners or viewers wants to develop a comprehensive marketing strategy in their small business. So I know that that's what you do for clients, and we'll tell them how to get in touch with you later. But let's say that they were attempting to do this themselves. Where should they start? Sure.
I think, you know, the place that I start every time is taking a look at your competitors is really a great place to start. With the thought of, when I go look at them, what are they saying to customers about the same stuff we're selling, right? How are they talking about it? How are they connecting with them? Or are they just saying, we got this stuff, want some? Which I got to tell you is most of the time.
Right.
There is
we have this too. Do you want ours? Yeah.
Yeah. Or see anything you like?
Yeah.
Place an order. So I forgot the question. I mean, the opportunity is usually there, right? The opportunity is usually there to do something to set yourself out. So the first thing I do is go look at competitors. I remembered the question again, and see what they're all doing and document it. And it's not, I mean, sure, I've been involved in multiple $100,000 research projects to do that. Okay. And to stand up in front of a board of directors with confidence about what you believe the competition's saying, and here's what we're going to say, you have to spend a lot of money to be able to do that. You just have to in a big company. That doesn't mean a small company has to spend a lot of money to do that. You can do that on your own. Go out and do what I'm saying. I go and look at websites. If you can't tell what somebody is talking about, how they're talking about themselves on their website, you don't really have to look any further. If they haven't done it there, they're probably not doing it anywhere, you know? Yeah. So I look at that first.
Trade magazines, websites, kind of everywhere that you might be, they probably are.
They're
also
there,
right?
You know? The second thing is, to take a very hard look at all the features and benefits of whatever you're selling. Okay. Put down a laundry list of those, and it's features and benefits, or benefits and the features that deliver those benefits. Right. And then force rank them. And that's like, that's probably one of the most difficult things for businesses to get their heads around, because you really have to decide which children are your favorites, because we can't say them all the time, right? Because what we're getting to is how we're going to talk about ourselves. So we go through an exhaustive, process to get all your features, all your benefits, every great thing we have to say about us, and put that down on paper and kind of prioritize them. Okay. It doesn't mean you're abandoning number 5 because you put number 1 up here. It just means this is probably what you're going to lead with. You put it up here. The next thing is to boil all those down and come up with a statement, a positioning statement, a business statement, not a creative statement, not a tagline, not a headline, just a business statement that says, what you're about, the thing you want customers to think about you first, to understand about you, to just know what problems you can solve for them. The statement really gets around, I always say, how can you make your customer's day better? That's what the statement should answer. And if it's, they're able to sleep well at night, knowing they have an exit strategy that will accomplish their goals. And the reason we can say that is because we do this and we do that and we do this and we do that. Okay. What supports that main statement? Usually we come up with, we've come up with, we were doing a university one time, and I bet we had 25 of those statements. and then we filter those down. It's good to go out to your customers and ask them, does this sound like us? Does this sound right? And here's why we're saying that, feature benefit, and kind of validate it a little bit. But I guarantee you will get 90% there on your own. A lot of times it's that last little bit is where the real gold is, so it's good to get out in front of your customers. And then you take that statement and decide how you're going to creatively, in an emotive, human way, even in B2B, because we are all humans in B2B, which is a news flash, how you're going to stop people, how are you going to grab their attention? How are you going to convince them to read on, take the next action? And it takes a little bit of something in the noise to do that. Then where's that message, going to be, where's it best go to get in front of your customers, which is I still call it the media plan. We like to call it digital, but digital is just another media option in my mind. And then measure it. So that's sort of the whole plan. How are you going to measure it? What does success look like for us if we do this? Did I answer the question?
Yeah, I'm making notes like a madman over here because it sounds.
I haven't told you this already. I thought I did.
You probably did, but I rarely listen when you're talking. I'm actually making a grocery list for when I'm done recording this podcast.
Good. It looks like you're engaged.
Well, so you described a lot of steps there for business owners that want to do this. So it doesn't start with, hey, let's get a new logo.
Normally, that's where they want to, talk. And that's
the sexy part of it, right?
I just did an engagement with a company, and then the request was, we need a sales sheet. And I'm like, okay, well, why does anyone want our product? Have we kind of backed into, let's back up and do positioning for the product and go through the process that I just described. And we went and looked at all the competition and everything else like that. And then I said, because if I just go do your sales sheet, I'm happy to do it. We'll do it. We're doing it in a vacuum. I'm going to make all these decisions for you, not having these conversations and not going through the process. We'll do a sales sheet. We'll do it,
and it'll be beautiful.
It'll be great.
However,
so it was good. We did that, and of course, the sales sheet is now going to be their website. It was like which comes first, but in any case, the messaging was all put together in a way, and now it's being implemented in different places.
So, you described, as I'm writing this all down, and of course, we've talked about this before, it's basically a process, right? That you're walking them through. And, we've already had Dean Ash on and Jason Forrest, and we talked about sales being a process, that it's almost paint by numbers. So if we're demystifying marketing here, it really is a process to kind of get, and if you follow the process, it kind of answers where you go next, right?
Exactly. And I mean, I guess I focus a lot more on, so everyone's doing something in marketing, right? They're doing something.
Right.
And they may be investing in peaks and valleys, and they're not doing our, flatline, strategy of spending all that, but they're doing something. The thing that I think that, yes, it is a process. And just like I described on the sales sheet, whether you stop and go through the process, you're making all those decisions. Okay. I know my competitors. I may not have even looked at them in the last year and a half, but I know them. Those kinds of things. And it's in the heat of battle and day-to-day business, it's easy to, this is a time-consuming process, that you have to stop and focus to go through. But the thing that people, I believe, miss the most, it's not doing a logo. It's not putting your message out there somewhere, doing a website or doing a Facebook page or a LinkedIn page or posts on LinkedIn. They'll do some of that stuff, but it's not working as hard as it could be for them because they haven't stopped and decided, how do we talk about ourselves as different from the other guys and girls out there? Right. The way I describe that is, you're standing in front of a room of 100 potential new customers that are going to make a decision in the next 15 minutes. You're flanked by 2 of your competitors on each side of you. You each have, 10 to 15 words to speak to convince the crowd you're the one instead of these other 4. What is that? Do you know that? Do your salespeople know that? Does your website communicate that? Is your LinkedIn post supporting that idea? And most of the time, the answer is no, or not much.
Right. So, wow. So walking through a process is in so many other areas in maximizing business value. It's about having a process to follow and documenting that process and doing that. And that sounds like what you're doing with your clients and the same thing that you would recommend. We're talking with Michael Orr. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Every business will eventually transition, some internally to employees and managers, and some externally to third-party buyers. Mastery Partners equips business owners to maximize business value so they can transition their businesses on their terms using our 4-step process. We start with a snapshot of where your business is today. Then we help you understand where you want to be and design a custom strategy to get you there. Next, we help you execute that strategy with the assistance of our amazing resource network. And ultimately, you'll be able to transition your business on your terms. What are you waiting for? More time? More revenue? If you want to maximize your business value, it takes time. Now is that time. Get started today by checking us out at www.masterypartners.com or email us at info@masterypartners.com to learn more.
We're back with Michael Orr, marketing master here at Mastery Partners. I call him the branding whisperer, and we're learning about demystifying marketing. So let's talk a little bit about branding. Although I am biased, I think Michael is one of the best branding geniuses on the planet. Don't let that go to your head, Michael. It is on recording now, and so you can just play that back to yourself over and over and over.
I'm making my screensaver.
Perfect. So is there a difference between marketing and branding?
Sure. I think marketing is much more holistic than branding, but branding, in my mind, is probably the most important thing to make your marketing work the best. So branding is how people think about you, your company, your solution, your product when they think about you. It's what their takeaway is about your stuff you sell. That's branding. Marketing obviously is going to include other things like analytics, product innovation, pricing, media planning, the whole thing, right? Everything. Branding, in addition to what we've been talking about, which is, your messaging, your digital profile, presentation, your advertising, whatever, how you put yourself out there. But branding goes way beyond that. When you walk into a Chick-fil-A, do the employees live the brand there? Are they different than the employees in other fast food restaurants? You don't have to like them. You don't have to like Chick-fil-A, but their people are part of their brand, and which is probably the most important part of a brand. So brand goes well beyond the aspects of marketing, even though we talk about it mostly around marketing. But it's everything. It's, one of the things we talked a lot about at Georgia Pacific was the image of a restaurant is 40% or more. I'm probably making up that statistic, but it sounds good. Related to the cleanliness of the bathroom. Okay. Because if the bathroom's not in order, you're wondering what the back kitchen looks like. Okay. So now the bathroom, towels and soap and cleanliness has to do with your brand. Now, who would, you wouldn't tie this to. So branding is more emotive. To me, it reaches all aspects of your whole company, your whole offering.
No, I get that. In fact, one of the things we've talked a lot about the branding here at Mastery Partners, and it was against my better judgment, but that noggin of mine has sort of become synonymous with our brand, right? It's on our cards, on all of our literature, it's on our website, so they can see that in the colors and all of that. And it's. I used to tell our salespeople that when they were going to a trade show, that when they're interacting with their customer, they are our brand, right? And so however they interact, that is what the customers are going to see in our brand. That's why Chick-fil-A spends so much time training their people how to interact with other people. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Is there anybody that doesn't like Chick-fil-A, really?
I don't know. When you bring up we wouldn't let anybody sit down in the booth when we were at Kimberly-Clark, right? That was just a rule. There were no chairs. There was no leaning. There was no, we would do shifts so you could go sit down, because again, if you're sitting around in the lounge where the customers, it's part of your brand. It's not a energetic, engaged company. So you do things like that you maybe don't even realize are part of your brand, but they're part of your brand. And it is all very part of psychology and my degree that I completed. I always think about like Coca-Cola. I know we always bring up the usuals, right? But Coca-Cola, I'm always reminded of that one because I don't drink cola. I didn't drink cola when I was a kid. I don't drink cola. I didn't like cola, but I always felt left out, that somehow, how could my life be happy? Because if you drink Coke, you're happy and you're refreshed and you're part of the global community. And I'm left out because I drank Fanta grape. But it was, it's that whole emotional thing, and that's what your brand is all about. It really is. And they do a great job of it. Let's face it. They're just facing another caramel colored, sugar water. That's all it is.
Here you are in Atlanta, and you may be the only guy in Atlanta that doesn't drink Coke.
Well, no, I don't. But fortunately, because I'm in Atlanta, Coke is the generic for soft drink. You know that.
Yes,
right?
Exactly.
You want
up and you order a Coke.
It
might be a Sprite or a Dr. Pepper or whatever, but it's a Coke.
Yeah.
It's like Kleenex is the name.
Absolutely. It's totally.
That's right. And if you don't believe me, go to the South and do that. Folks, that's absolutely the truth. talk about branding, right? So you've already talked about Coke, and of course, other big companies that do a lot of branding. I think about kind of the beer commercials, and they're all about branding. But how can small companies be thinking about branding?
I think you mean, to me, you have to do it the same exact way as the big companies. You just might not have the bandwidth. You might not have the money. You're certainly not going to have the number of zeros in their media budget and those kinds of things. But they went through this, they went or go through the same steps we've been talking about. It's just on a grander scale. And if you go through the branding thought process of positioning and branding and how we're going to talk about ourselves and how we're going to communicate our, that thought, everything you are doing or aspire to do in marketing is going to be more effective. And it's like when we first started talking, we all have the benefit of I just call them the algorithms, right? Because that's what drives all the targeting. Unbelievable stuff. But if you also put stuff out there with that highly targeted, you connect with that customer more times, because we knew that stuff worked without the algorithms before. So now we put the two together and it makes for a powerful package. So I think you think about branding the same way the big companies do. You have to just go through the process we've been talking about.
It's got to be consistent, right? I mean, it really takes time to develop the right message and make it consistent, because if you're changing, the old joke, every time a airline gets a new CEO, they get a new logo and they repaint the jets, right? And it's probably because the brand is damaged in some way, before, and that's why they have a new CEO and they're trying to create a new branding. But I would argue that the consistency of message, starting with developing a great message first and then consistently delivering it, will bring you better returns than changing the message over and over. Does that sound right?
And again, even if it's not optimal, but you're doing it consistently, consistency is probably more important than actually doing it, the very, very, very best, because the very, very, very best is going to cost a lot of money. Optimal, level and consistent. And I think, you'll get your returns. And that's all I have to say about that.
I'm a member of the school of thought that says, I don't care what you say about me, just talk about me, right? so true to a certain extent. I know you would say some things.
Well, yeah, we've talked about you here around our dinner table enough times.
Right. So why is it so important to be able to differentiate your business and really articulate your USP or unique selling proposition in your marketing?
Sure. I think we get back to the example where you're standing up in front of potential customers and think of every little marketing thing you're doing in those terms. If it's a LinkedIn post, think of it. Okay. Your LinkedIn posts are lined up against your competitors. Why are they going to click yours over the other ones? If you think of everything like that, then, you're thinking about your marketing and your branding in the right way. It's how are you driving to connect with customers, more?
And I think we also need to pay attention to, it's one thing for the guys in the executive team to be able to articulate the differentiation or the unique selling proposition, but you got to spend time to send that message throughout the organization. Everybody in the company should be able to articulate how we are differentiated from our competitors. Yeah. And it's so important to make sure that message is also delivered internally. It's one thing to create an external campaign to get that message to your customers, but if your own team doesn't deliver exactly the same message, then you're causing yourself some challenges. So
yeah, and that gets back to where we're talking about your people are probably the most important piece of the brand and how they think about what you're doing. Yeah, we did a university one time, and we started from scratch to redo their whole image. And And we started with I think we had 11 vice presidents and a president, and then we had a guiding committee of 80. And so
a guiding committee of
yes,
80
that we had to present each step along the way, right? Well, here's the good thing. You're never going to get everybody on the same page. But by the time we went through that process, and they had all been through the process, we had the different colleges contacting us and like, how can we, be a part of this? Where they were all doing, it's like most, they're all doing their own separate stuff. The College of Law would do their own thing from the university. And now they were all trying to get on the same page because we brought them all along and made them a part of the process, makes them a part of the brand. A lot of times they're done in a sort of a silo with upper management, VP, president, whatever. You do all this stuff, and then you launch it out to your customers. You probably need to launch it to your own folks first. And don't just tell them what it is. Tell them how you got there so that they have the buy-in and they understand, how you got there. And you may not like the green lizard pitching insurance, but here's how we got there. Okay.
Yeah. That's, Geico is a master at branding for sure. So I think it's important sometimes to get fresh eyes on your marketing strategy. So what are some of the reasons our listeners and viewers might want to engage with you and with Point Z Marketing to get fresh eyes on the marketing strategy?
Sure. I think, going through the process, like I said, it's not brain surgery, but if you've been through it, it helps to have somebody that's been through it and you can guide yourself through it. I think the biggest reason is some objectivity. When we went through like a big branding process at Kimberly-Clark years ago, but it was very eye-opening. And we went through all this research and talked to customers and came up with positionings and all this good stuff. And we came up with a positioning that was really good and we liked it and it was good stuff. But one of the pieces that came back to us was customers said, when we tell them something, they believed what we were saying. And that was largely in advertising. And so this was, pre-social media. We weren't doing a bunch of social media to mold, thought leadership position. There wasn't a lot of that. They believed what we told them from advertising. And we were like, well, you probably hear that from a lot. And they're like, in, 30 years of doing this, we've never heard a customer group say, we trust you in what you say. Well, we would have never uncovered that with just ourselves, right? And so it's that those last little bits tend to be probably some of the most powerful things. You're not going to find them all the time, but I guarantee you won't find them by yourself either.
Right.
When they're there.
No, I love that. I really think that part of what we do at Mastery is just find those blind spots. You're driving down the highway and you got blind spots in either direction, and trying to uncover some of those. And it's like, well, so my wife and I were making lunch a little while ago. We always meet in the corporate lunchroom. Her office is on the other side of the corporate offices, and mine was over here. So we met over in the corporate lunchroom, which is also known as a kitchen. And we were both of us looking for the pickle relish. We wanted to make some egg salad. Where's the damn relish? And I kid you not, when we finally found it, we're scouring the pantry, we're scouring the refrigerator. I'm standing there in the refrigerator. My wife points right directly in the middle. Says, there it is. I went, it's sometimes you're so close to something, right, that you just can't see it yourself. And I think that's why it's so important to get fresh eyes to look at things.
It's also sometimes, you don't want to recognize some things that aren't pleasant. So you tend to kind of ignore them. But just on the other side of the coin, people don't give themselves credit, probably see that more, for things they should give themselves credit for. Because in business, when you're always trying to improve, you're not really looking at the things that are going well a whole lot. The focus is on the opportunity. So it's kind of human nature to be that way, I think. And someone who comes in objectively can say, hey, you're doing a great job of this, and you need to talk about it, you know? So that's the other side.
Awesome. Well, one last business question here. I know we need to wrap up here pretty quickly. This podcast is all about maximizing business value. And if you had the opportunity to give one piece of advice, what is the one thing that you recommend business owners do to build long-term value in their businesses?
I think it's to get maximize the value out of your marketing and your sales, is to make sure you get your messaging down, your position, your branding, kind of all synonymous, because I think that makes everything you do that much more effective. To me, if you take a minute to do that and then apply that to what you're doing, and hold yourself to it, because, you know, a good positioning is a benchmark. When somebody has let's face it, everybody's a marketing person, right? Everybody can do marketing. In big corporate America, we put people out to pasture in marketing, and everyone can do marketing. But when you come up with your brand and hold yourself to it, it's a benchmark to assess things that are put in front of you, right? So if someone comes up with an idea, the first thing you want to do is does it support that positioning or not? It's something to keep everybody heading in the same direction, and a way to say, great idea, but it doesn't fit sort of our overall messaging. It might be a sales training thing or something like that. It might be a piece of something else. So not only leveraging the value in your marketing, I think it just sort of helps the whole organization move in the same direction.
Awesome. Great advice. As you know, we ask a bonus question here. Our listeners all know this, and I've been looking forward to asking you this question all day, because if I had to lay money on it, I couldn't, because there's probably 5 or 6 different answers that I bet you could give here. So our bonus question always, what personality trait has gotten you into the most trouble through the years?
I'm
not asking Pam, I'm asking you.
She'd have a longer list than you. So rugged good looks is not a personality trait, right? No, I think I think that I think it's probably I'm not afraid to be the dissenter in a group. So it kind of circles around brutal honesty and internal dialogue, maybe coming out when you might want to not. But, I think that's what I'm paid for. And the people that call me back, that's why they call me back. They want to hear it all, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And there's always some of each, right? If you don't want to hear it all, then you're not going to maximize your business value, right? So
yes,
but I think that gets me in trouble sometimes too. Would that have been on your list? I know it would have.
Well, I knew sarcasm was going to be in there somewhere. So the way I've categorized this as sarcastically brutal honesty.
There you go. And the older I get, the less filter I have, I'm finding.
Yeah, well, true, but also the more wisdom that you have, right?
Absolutely.
It goes with the age. It's funny when you send me information, I always read it with a hint of, is he trying to tell me this, or is he just saying this in general? So, when we started preparing for this podcast, you wrote down a whole diatribe of stuff, which I wish I'd had queued up here to read part of it. But I'm sitting there going, is he really telling me this, or is he just talking about this stuff in general? So it was brilliant.
No. So I've already told you everything I know.
That's true. Wow. That's, Michael's taught me everything that I know. Unfortunately, not everything that he knows. So, so how can our viewers and listeners get in touch with you?
Probably website, pointzmarketing.com, POINT, letter Z, marketing, all one word.com. My phone number's on there, or I'm on LinkedIn.
Awesome. So, yeah, you'll see if you go to the pointzmarketing.com website that Michael still lives in the days when he had the motorcycle. So it's a great website. I think you'll enjoy that. So thanks, Michael, for being our guest today. You can find Michael Orr at our website, masterypartners.com, or on his website, pointzmarketing.com, or you can reach out to me and I will be happy to put you in touch with him. This is the Maximize Business Value podcast, where we give practical advice to business owners on how to build long-term sustainable value in their businesses. Be sure to tune in each week and follow us wherever you found this podcast. Be sure to comment. We love comments and we respond to all of them. So until next time, I'm Tom Bronson, reminding you to define your marketing message clearly while you maximize business value.
Thank you for tuning into the Maximize Business Value podcast with Tom Bronson. This podcast is brought to you by Mastery Partners, where our mission is to equip business owners to maximize business value so they can transition on their terms. Learn more on how to build long-term sustainable business value and get free value-building tools by visiting our website, www.masterypartners.com. That's master with a Y, masterypartners.com. Check it out.
That was perfect. I wouldn't make any changes on that.